We're calling this regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of Sabine Independent School District to order. This meeting is Monday, June 13th, 2016. It is 6:13. We have a quorum present, but John Kenna is absent. If you'll stand for the invocation and the pledge. Father, thank you that you sent your Son to give me everlasting life, and that your Son is alive in me tonight and giving me strength. Thank you that all things are possible to those of us who believe in you. I choose to lean on you tonight for that strength because you've never abandoned us. And give us guidance tonight in all that we do, and I ask these things in the name of your Holy Son. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. We had no one sign up to speak in the open forum, so we're moving to the information items. And Mr. Bryce has numbers about the final student enrollment.
Just to keep you abreast of the numbers that we finished up with this year compared to last year. Last year, on the last day of school, our enrollment was 1,386, and this year, the enrollment the last day of school was 1,442. So that's a difference of 56 students. So, you can see that things are continuing to grow, not just in our lower grades, but now they've moved up into middle school and high school ages also. So 56 student increase is nice to have during one school year. And you will notice that it is reflected in budget items also as we go through that.
I think our largest growth was in the middle school, wasn't it?
Yes.
Any comments or questions about the report? And the accounts payable have been moved to the information section. If there's any questions about that, Mr. Yandel can answer them. The consent items will be acted on at one time unless there's an objection and a member wants to talk about one of them separately. These include the minutes, the tax collection report, and the investment portfolio.
Ms. Wright, can we withdraw the minutes for individual consideration? May 9th and June 1st.
Pardon?
The May 9th and June 1st minutes.
And what concern do you have?
There's wording. One second, please. On the May 9th meeting, there's wording that says Board Member Rusty Taylor questioned House Bill 1295. I never mentioned House Bill 1295. That was Mr. Price.
So are you wanting that deleted or rewritten?
Yeah,
You mean
like that.
strike that word?
Well, I mean, the whole thing, if you want to Everybody wanted it. But I never mentioned House Bill 1295.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Question House Bill 1295. Okay.
Moving down to right below that, the paragraph that begins, Mr. Bryce recommended. And then it says, so which one of us did it?
Mr. Bryce recommended.
Okay, so you're gonna take out the word presidents and put Mr. Bryce's recommendation. And then I'm in the first paragraph of Mr. Yandel's presentation. What does that note mean?
Yeah, the note, that needs to be struck. I have no idea.
I had to go back and
So we're taking that out?
Yes, you can strike that note on there.
Okay, and you mentioned the other meeting, or?
June 1st, the item number 1 under the purpose and scope, Mr. Sutherland claimed to have sent the document to the elder Hardy, not the younger Hardy, as your statement suggests in there.
Okay.
it just says that this was sent to the lawyer, and then John Hardy Jr. said he had not seen the document.
That insinuates that Mr. Hardy Jr. hadn't seen the documents and that the documents were sent to the younger Hardy and not that they were sent to the elder Hardy, just like Mr. Sutherland had said.
John Hardy Jr. also said here that the senior party didn't receive the documents either.
That's what he told me this week also. That's what he said in the meeting we
He
had
also
last
said
week.
in the meeting last week.
I spoke with him on,
But it was
Is it
said
working?
in the meeting that neither parties had received those documents.
When I spoke to him on Friday, he called me and he said that no, he had not gotten those documents. And he also told me some other stuff too. But one of the things was which he had never recommended Don Sutherland, nor did he know Don Sutherland, so.
You know, the statement is accurate. There's no inaccuracy. I mean, there could be additional text, but Mr. Sutherland said the documents were sent to the lawyer. That's what he said. He said it to the older party, that it was Junior that was here, that it was Junior the one that said he hadn't seen them. No, it's not. It's accurate.
Well, I guess the last thing would be that I would suggest that we include that Mr. Bryce is the person who received the email from Mr. Sutherland and then printed the document and then passed it out to the board and the board's attorney and to the Kilgore News Herald.
I would suggest that we just go back and watch the film and then edit it from there.
We're expected to accept these minutes tonight.
Right, and I guess. we
So
just-
I'm making sure that we get these right and correct.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, I guess we won't accept them and just go back and watch the film and get it right from, I mean, we can go word for word from there.
Well, I mean, furthermore, I'd like to note that we've had several instances since I've been on the board that our minutes have been changed or have been in question. So I'd suggest that sometime in the near future that we would consider reviewing policy concerning these and how our minutes are recorded. So,
you know how they're recorded by
So maybe I
It's pretty
should
simple.
step down
Just sit
and
next to you.
She writes it down, she turns it in, it gets printed out.
These are legal documents, Tony, and they need to be
I
done
understand
right.
that, but you know how they're recorded, it's not a secret.
Well, I think Andre said she would resign, and we can just nominate you to be secretary, and you can
You're
start
more
taking
than
the
welcome to
notes.
take over, I'm sure she'll let you.
I mean, you're already running.
I'll do
meetings
whatever's
anyway.
asking me. I'm just saying, we need to get it
This
right.
dialogue is going to stop. Andrea is our secretary.
Fine, but I get questions all the time.
Are we accepting the May 9th meetings with those corrections that were agreed upon?
We were just taking out the statement by Rusty, right?
Well, and
Totally changed.
changing that to Mr. Bryce or the superintendent, and deleting that note. The letter was in the board document. Is that it? Is there a motion to approve the May 9th meetings with those corrections?
Let y'all decide.
Okay, there's no motion, so we won't ask for a second. Is there a motion to approve the May 16th meetings?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay. A motion has been made by Mr. Taylor. Is there a second? This is on the May 16th meeting only. Ms. Pickle has seconded. All in favor of approving the May 16th meetings? And it's unanimous. 6 present. That leaves the tax collections and the investment portfolio.
Did we approve the June first?
Mr. Is there a motion to approve the June 1st minutes?
Yes.
A motion. Is there a second? Is that as written without any corrections?
Sure. I think they can do that.
All in favor of approving the June 1st meetings, please raise your hand. And all opposed? The motion passed.
Yes.
Now we're moving to the rest of the consent items. Mr. Franklin moved that we accept the tax collection report and the investment portfolio. Is there a second? Ms. Pickle, and all in favor, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. Under discussion, an update on the proposed budget for 2016-2017.
Okay, Mr. Yandel, go ahead and take that if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Bryce. You have in your packet a one-sheet recap, updating the budget for this next year. After we put in the raises and wage increases that the board approved on June the 1st, the estimated revenues, $10,986,949. The payroll appropriations, including salaries, wages, and benefits, is $8,412,000. The non-payroll appropriations, as we discussed before, are $2,836,000, and that would leave a net budgeted deficit, which includes the $260,000 for the middle school roof repair that's going to be funded out of fund balance of $261,931. This is information that if you saw in the Kilgore paper Saturday, that was in the notice announcing the meeting, of the budget hearing that we'll be having on June the 23rd. I'll be glad to answer any questions the board may have on the budget to this point.
I have something that's not on this page, but earlier this year, there was quite a concern about the $10,000 for Mr. Greg Gibson and the fact that it had not been budgeted, so to speak, and a budget amendment had to be made. I suppose that in the event that this audit needs to be extended, that some amount needs to be in this new budget.
We will be doing a budget amendment probably in August or September anyway, to update the tax revenue and the state revenue as they change once we get the final appraised values from the appraisal district. And if that's necessary to amend it for Mr. Sutherland, we can do it at that time.
Okay. Any question from Mr. Yandel about that?
Is that gonna guarantee that we're not gonna get the same reaction?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Wouldn't it be better just to put something in there?
$10,000 is all we approved.
There's $10,000 in there for Carriot, for whatever work he does up through June 30th, and then whatever work he completes after June 30th.
How can we avoid a budget amendment?
How can we avoid a budget?
Yes, sir.
We don't know what his total cost is going to be at this point, because we don't know if he's going to be limited to the $10,000 or exceed the $10,000. So the only way to do that would be to put an overstated amount into next year's budget and then back out what we don't really use once he's finished.
Aren't there other things in our budget that we kind of prorate, as you could say?
What I'm saying, Rusty, is if he only uses $5,000 of the
Mhm.
$10,000
Mm-hmm.
that's originally budgeted now by June 30th,
Mm-hmm.
then that would leave 5,000 of the original 10.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know that that's going to be the extent of what he is owed when he's
Right.
finally finished.
Well, we know that we're gonna, as of now, stop it at $10,000, but what if he needs $35,000, $40,000? Can we put that in there?
But if the board approves that, then we would do a budget amendment and put that in there.
I'm trying to avoid the amendment. If we're, projecting our budget now, we can just put that in there.
Is that what you want him to do? I mean, you want us to?
Well, I mean,
board to
I
consider
may
that?
be, I think that's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah.
So I guess we need to have a special meeting in my mind to discuss another amendment to the budget for next year.
Well, it wouldn't be an amendment, Paul. That's what we're getting at here. We're trying to avoid an amendment. So we just budget that money now, and we know what we have for that.
I think that's crazy. Honestly.
If you can go back and listen to all the comments that some of you made about the fact that the $10,000 had not been budgeted, you can see where Mr. Taylor is coming from.
What if we don't
He's
use any of the
wanting to
money?
avoid
What if
that.
we only use the $10,000, Paul? How crazy is that? That we thought ahead for that. That's not crazy.
So are you saying last year when we did the budget, we should have foresaw that y'all wanted to spend $10,000 on
How
this
can you
project?
foresee anything that has happened, Paul?
I don't even understand where you're going with this. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Mr. Yandel just indicated that a budget amendment is not that big of a deal, that we're probably going to do one anyway. Did I hear you correctly?
That is correct.
in August or September, but it was only some of the dissenting board members that made it such a big deal back in January.
The budget amendment he's talking about is to adjust for the fact that we estimated our tax revenues, and it's gonna have to adjust for actual numbers once they actually come in. You're talking about doing a different adjustment, just to account for the fact that you've already made the decision to spend more than the $10,000 originally allotted.
That's not at all what I said.
That's pretty much exactly what you're saying.
No,
Go
I
ahead and put
said-
extra money in the account just in case he goes over, and we'll have money previously allocated for it.
Excuse me, Mr. Ryman, if the audience continues to interrupt, we're going to have to clear the auditorium. You need to be here to listen and not to interrupt this public meeting. Mr. Ryman, would you repeat what you just said?
What I said was the fact that the allocation, the original allocation of $10,000 has already been questioned to the point that somebody wants to go ahead and budget an extra, whatever the number is, let's just call it an extra $10,000 just in case. As opposed to going back, once we have that number, to say, okay, now we're gonna make an adjustment to account for whatever extra he thinks he needs to do whatever additional investigation that he thinks he needs, once he comes back to the board with his numbers from the first time. But it's just, the adjustment that Kevin's talking about that he'll have to do is the adjustment to make up for the fact that we did an estimated tax revenue, and it's gonna have to be an actual revenue. That's a normal adjustment that's done every year.
As long as it's considered routine business, then to answer Mr. Franklin's question, of course, there would have to be a board meeting to approve any further money. But I don't want to hear coming from any of us that that wasn't budgeted as a reason for not doing it. That was the only reason I brought it up tonight.
Well, I thought Rusty brought it up, but what are you saying?
Where you been?
Well, I'm confused. I don't.
Oh, okay.
I said that in the event that it should be more than the $10,000, if we need to place an amount.
Well, unfortunately, a fraud audit is not something we generally budget money for, so it's unforeseen.
Absolutely.
May I ask just a hypothetical question? Let's say that Mr. Sutherland does his audit and he gets to the $10,000 limit by July 3rd. And can we post haste have a budget, a meeting and a budget amendment to continue without a long delay?
Yes, at a special call meeting,
Okay.
not an emergency meeting,
No,
but a special
no,
call.
a special call meeting. And we wouldn't have to wait until the August, when there's gonna be a budget amendment. We could go ahead and do it.
This is a discussion item only. Is there any other thing to be said? The next discussion item is board policy regarding board members' ability to call meetings and the process to add items to a board meeting agenda.
Mr. Franklin asked for this to be on the agenda, and I included policy BE local in your packet, so you could have that to refer to when Mr. Franklin is discussing the policy.
Originally, I'd hoped that our attorney was going to be here just to give us a synopsis of this and make sure that we were, that we fully understood the process. I mean, I realize we have it written here, but that was my intention. I guess he's not here tonight, so we won't do it that way. So we can certainly all read.
Most of that policy seems to be self-explanatory.
One would think.
there any other comment? The next item under discussion is the food backpack program. Some of the workers at our local food pantry had given me a handout about the backpack program. I passed it on to Mr. Bryson. I was not aware that we already had a backpack program. And I'm going to let him tell what we are doing and how it's the same information that was given to me.
Okay, the food backpack program is handled through our mentor program, and we partnered with one of the local churches in the community to help sponsor that. And basically, if there are food needs in families that we have in school, we want to try to help them out as much as possible. So we go through the counselors. Misty G will be heading this up. Like I say, we've already partnered with one of the local churches to get this started in August when we come back to school. And we want to make sure that the kids have enough food to eat on weekends. We do provide food for them during the week. You know, we have breakfast for them, we have lunch for them. And if, during these economic times, some families are going through some bad situations. So we want to make sure that we help out as much as possible where we can help provide food for those families on the weekend so the kids, will have plenty to eat. And it will go throughout the school year. Like I said, it is, we partner with the church, and they also have sponsors helping them out as far as providing funding to help provide the food for those kids. And we would send that home through backpacks each Friday when students leave school. So that program, we had a program last summer that was similar to that. This one is not a summer program. This one is during the entire school year. The cost is approximately $162 per year to provide food for families on weekends. So, when you see this coming out this next August, when we start this program, you will know what it's about. And if if you would like to sponsor a family, you would just contact Misty G, and she can help you out on that.
Any questions or comments? The last item for discussion is the report on soccer expenses.
Okay, in your packet, we included an expense or expenses, I should say, that we visited with other schools. Coach Comfort's down there. Coach Comfort got with other school districts that had put the soccer program in place, and we were trying to get an estimate on what it would cost to start the program. And we also wanted to get the kind of the interest that our kids had in a soccer program. And you see the survey that in your packet, we sent the survey out, but the survey that I handed out to you is even more updated. And that is, Coach Comfort did that survey through, he made up the questions and got questions from some of these districts that had installed the soccer program. And you can tell by looking at the statistics in that survey how many kids are interested. And of course, this is approximate. But we do have quite a few kids that will be interested in a soccer program. It's even broken down into male, female, that kind of thing. Coach Comfort did a good job with this, and it certainly gives us a lot of information to work with. If you look at the soccer program startup on the loose sheet that I handed out at your place today, it kind of makes it easier reading than what was in your packet. You can to see it all on one page. These are definitely approximate cost, because what we found was, depending on the school district, it would depend on how much money they put into it. So, but starting out, from the very beginning, you're gonna need the necessities that are listed at the very top. And that's somewhere, in the range of 60, right there at $6,700. And then on the extras, which is, the practice items that come into play, that's about $4,300. And then during the entire year, if you have the soccer program going the entire year, that bottom estimate gives you the totals there. And if you look at the totals, the travel and officials, the tournament fees, supplies, and just basically the yearly budget, the reason it says × 2 out there is if you have boys and girls. Now, this is not saying that it has to cost that much, because, there's certainly ways that you would try to cut budgets as much as possible, and we always do. But this gives you an idea of what the expenses are, and the survey gives you an idea of how many kids we have interested also. So it's a good bit of information, but we do have a lot of kids that are interested. And so when you look at the cost of the program, it doesn't cost any more, and in many instances it will cost less than other programs. So it's something for the board to look at and see if that's something that you want to consider adding, in the future. So certainly any questions that you have, we'll certainly try to answer that, and I'll even ask Coach Comfort to answer any questions if need be.
Do we have any other schools our size to play in our area?
Let's see, Wascom plays.
Define our area.
Oh, yeah, that would have to be our area. And the way that it's normally done, when the program is initially set up, it's set up as a club type, and you don't actually play district ball games that first year, maybe even the second year. Some schools go the second year, some schools go 3 or 4 years before they start
But
district.
Harmony and White Oak and the surrounding districts, Troop or ARP, none of those have soccer programs.
No, they do not.
So we just need to do this presentation for their boards.
Yeah.
Get them playing, so we can all just play together.
And if you go into district play, you have to go into district with the schools around you that normally are going to be larger, of course, than 3A, which, Kilgore and Henderson and those type of schools would be. Spring Hill has a team, Tatum has a team. Even though those are one classification larger than us, they do have a team and play a district schedule. Seems like Tatum, Coach Comfort, did Tatum play 2 years club? I'm sorry?
2 years.
Okay.
Well, and then went to UIL.
Okay.
Boston was the same way.
Okay. And some schools, I believe Wascom was one of them, they actually started a boys program 1 year and added the girls program the next year, so it can be done that way too.
I think you guys have upset girls.
Yeah, looking at the percentages, we have a lot of,
The numbers that they gave here, were these after the first trial years? Were these after the programs were already up and running?
which numbers?
The numbers that you gave us here, that $8,000 times 2, is that after the
Yes,
programs
yes,
are up and
that's
running?
after.
That's not our initial cost.
Right, that's
And we go
the
club,
yearly.
that won't cost that much, that first year.
It
Well,
could-
if you're going club, then you're not playing a full season, so.
No, you're not.
Whitney said that they didn't pay their guy the full coaching stipend.
Well, that's gonna be up to the board. Now, one thing that you're gonna have to decide, okay, if you put a soccer program in, do you want a coach that is gonna coach soccer, that knows soccer and is, all that.
No, I understand that, but you're gonna want to make sure that you have the following that these
The number of
surveys
kids.
suggest before you invest anything into a soccer coach.
Yeah.
I think we got a pretty good soccer coach that already works here.
I know one thing, James Gray would be so happy that we were talking about this again. He'll probably go to those other schools and try to recruit them in too.
Yeah, on the, before you begin a district schedule, a regular UIL district schedule, yes, you pick up schools around you as close as you can get. And if they're in a district already, some schools in their schedule will have a bye, of course, if they have that number of teams in their district, so that you can pick up games that way. And of course, pick up games prior to the district games starting for the year. So it's doable. All right.
Any other comments, questions, anything you want Mr. Bryce to get further information?
Yeah, what's next? How do we go from here?
Coach, let me ask Coach Comfort. Coach Comfort, is there anything else that needs to be added to that? The only other thing, we all know that by adding, we're gonna have more competition not competition, but sharing kids and that kind of thing. And that's just something we're going to have to deal with. And also soccer season, the way soccer season is, it overlaps into basketball season and baseball, softball season. So those are things that we'll have to deal with. That's just the downside of it, but it's something, we share kids all the time. We'll just have to share a little more, and that's part of it.
Did you have any questions pointed in that direction in that survey? As far as,
No, sir, I should be.
okay.
Like what kind of?
Well, like what you were alluding to, maybe that, they could let us know how many of those kids would have those types of conflicts. I mean, there may be kids that aren't even in athletics that were on part of that survey,
Right.
so there wouldn't be those conflicts.
And certainly, we don't know exactly which ones, when it comes down to it, which ones will, they indicate on here.
No, yeah,
some
yeah,
ones,
I understand.
And that's okay.
But there's gotta be a percentage of those.
Yeah.
That's what,
Okay, next step is, it's one of those things to where, okay, is this something that, and of course, we don't vote tonight, but we're gonna need direction on, okay, is this something we're gonna try to look at beginning this coming school year? And if so, then we need to
Obviously,
budget appropriately.
that requires budget.
Right.
Mr. Comfort, are you under the impression that you could get this started by September? Or not necessarily September, obviously, but by next school year?
Get it started, rolling.
Is it possible that we could have a club team playing for Sabine by next school year? Is it not necessarily possible? Is it feasible?
It's feasible. When we're talking about getting started by the school year, we'd be implementing the scheduling, wouldn't actually be practicing or anything.
Right.
Correct. That's what I'm asking. I'm just saying, is it feasible that if we said move, it could actually happen next school year?
And see, that's something too, Tony, that looking at starting it, okay, is we have to look at the feasibility of the soccer class or no soccer class. We have to, take all of that into consideration for this first.
That's why I'm asking, is it feasible, not is it possible?
Well, it's feasible. Yeah, it's feasible, and the other part of that is we're looking at all the working pieces. That would be one of them, is scheduling, and if it works, if it doesn't work, that kind of thing. So that's something.
There's a little bit of a trial and error involved, just to get it working right.
Correct.
I would like to see us just do club ball for the first year and then reevaluate it. At least in a situation when we got club ball, I'm not sure if club ball, they're gonna play on Saturdays. Is that typically the way it is, or
No, you wouldn't be playing, you would be playing tournaments on Saturday.
on Saturday?
If you're gonna schedule with other schools, you would have to go Tuesdays, Fridays.
Right, and then I guess my biggest concern is that if we have, if you're on a basketball team or you're on a baseball team, let's say, you're the catcher, and you leave to go to a soccer game, you now left your district game.
You're talking with only club, and then you're talking baseball, basketball, softball,
Right.
UIL. I do believe the rest of the taken for that applicant is only UIL.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying, and you see the first year, if we just do club ball, just see how many conflicts there really are. And if it upsets the program so much in the soccer that, because the kids go on to basketball, baseball, they end up not being able to field a team, or,
We all recognize that we are sharing some of the same athletes. I mean, obviously. Hopefully, by offering the soccer program, is that we have a net new, and what if we brought in an extra 25 or 50 kids engaged in athletics that were not engaged previously? That's the ultimate goal of what we're trying to accomplish, is not steal away from basketball, is to actually find kids that want to play soccer but don't want to play basketball.
I agree.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, now, of course, there are athletes that'll play every sport we'll offer, full let them. We know that too.
And it's not just those sports, you gotta remember, you're also talking about UIL competition academically, ag.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of other
Sure.
stuff. We hadn't even talked about golf, or tennis, so
Well, and you know, and you know too, that, you know, once a sport starts, you know, you don't abandon one and start another one during the middle of the sport. You know, that's all in our athletic,
I think a pilot program, I guess, if you will, would be
Yeah,
the
that's-
best.
That's the whole thing about starting the club, is to work out the kinks.
Well, even if reevaluate and see if it even worked.
Right. And I'm all for that. I mean, just move forward, knowing that it's a club pilot program, see how it works, figure out what we did right, what do we need to modify, change, or do differently next year. But at least with this kind of results, we got, I mean, look at the numbers, over half our high school, and 88 out of 125 kids in the 8th grade all said they want to play soccer.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
And I have a question, would it be feasible to do both boys and girls for the startup year?
well, I think that's what we're talking about with the numbers that we saw on the survey.
I'm not gonna vote for it
It's-
otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, because more girls said they would than guys.
Unless we just do girls, I'll do that.
Yeah, the surveys are equal on that, on the number of boys that want to play and the number of
Just
girls.
right at it, yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, 150 to 144 off that original deal that he sent us. Now, also off that original one, of the 294 kids that responded, 226 of them said they would likely participate in the soccer program.
I don't figure we'll have a problem making a team.
No,
We may have a JV in 2 years.
right,
Yeah, now, starting off, we won't have a JV.
Well, I'm saying, it won't take
Yeah.
long, if these kids show up like they said they would, it wouldn't take long to have a
Right.
JV.
It also looks like we could start a bass club. I think Mr. Bryce thinks that he'll go.
Yeah, that'd be great, I love it, I love it.
We'll take him every day to go fishing.
Any other discussion?
do we need to put this on a future agenda, or
Yes.
how do we work that?
What, I think what we'll do too is at the same meeting that it's on the agenda, we'll bring a budget for this, so you can look at that also.
Okay. Is that gonna be, are we gonna have to amend it, or are we gonna include it in beforehand, or how we wanna do that?
How do you want to do that, Kevin? He said, is that gonna be?
Is it easy to track one way or the other?
Include that before we pass the budget?
That's up to what the board wants to do. I mean, as y'all explained in the last few minutes, it's not as though we're gonna start the soccer program in August. So, waiting and letting Coach Comfort get a better grasp of what the true budget he feels most comfortable with, and approving that when we amend the budget in August would be what I would recommend that we do. To give him more time to investigate it and get a better feel for what he's gonna need.
Hey, Coach, does this operate somewhat similar to what the 7-on-7 football operates? Or can we have a high school coach actually coaching the team, or does it have to be somebody else?
No, you can have a high school coach coaching the team.
It's just not a UIL event?
Right. It's not
Okay.
UIL. It's kind of like power lifting,
Okay.
same boat as power.
Thank you, Coach Comfort, for getting all this information together and helping us understand what's entailed in this program. There's only one action item, the approval of an additional kindergarten position.
Okay, this is, we had discussed this a little bit earlier, and, you know, I'm bringing it to you tonight to look at. Looking at our numbers that we currently have for kindergarten, each year that is the most difficult group to predict on how many kids you're gonna have. You know, we take our pre-kindergarten kids, and we know they're coming. We take those numbers, then we do a roundup, that type thing. Right now, we have 113 kindergarten kids already registered. In looking, and we have 5 teachers. Normally, late registration, we will have anywhere from 8 to 12 more kids registered. So that's putting a kindergarten class way up there. And I know that if y'all been in a kindergarten class recently, I really do not know how they do it. I mean, it will wear you out in 30 minutes. And they're in there all day with them, and they do a great job. And we don't want our classes to get so large that it begins to impair our teachers' ability to do the very best they can with those kids. So if we could get smaller numbers, it would be great. You know, if you're looking at the numbers that we currently have with 113, and if you add 10 more to that, that's a lot of kiddos in a classroom. So it would definitely benefit our kids and benefit our teaching staff if we could have one more kindergarten teacher.
How many do we have right
No, 113.
now? How many
We have 5 teachers. This would make 6. Does that
Hey, Stacy, this is curious. If we open up to a 6th class, and let's say we only have, let's say we're at 127 kids, 128 kids, that means we really don't have enough for a 6th class. But if we allowed transfer,
21 kids.
That'd be 21 kids in kindergarten.
I know, but our number's 22 or 23, I'm just saying, what's the number?
22.
It's 22. So, but if we open it up for transfer parents pay what, $1,000?
810 for
Yeah, okay.
1,200.
So 15, 16, 17 transfers bring in nearly half a salary.
Well,
Just rough math.
that would, yeah, it'd bring in closer to a salary.
Right.
17 kids.
If we bring in enough transfers to set up a 6th class, the transfer fees would basically pay the salary of the extra teacher.
Right.
This is easy, I mean, this is,
Right. And not all in one group. we're
Obviously.
talking about,
Yeah,
across
but-
the board, yes, yes.
If you had more,
do what?
if you brought in transfers, then you would have to have more teachers.
But we're already talking about adding a teacher with the possibility of only being over the limit by a couple of kids. Not enough to offset the cost of another teacher, but by opening up another teacher, you would also bring in transfer kindergartners to offset that cost by the transfer fees.
Are you gonna limit that to just the kindergartners? That's the only.
Yeah, we had before, we had grades, we'll take transfers in junior high, or we'll take transfers in 3rd grade, but we won't take transfers in,
Right.
we've done that before, because
Right.
where the classes are full
Right.
as opposed to not. So
Right.
we could open up and to say, we're allowing kindergarten transfers up to the first 15, and let that fee offset the cost of the extra teacher. It wouldn't be, the district wouldn't have to pay for that teacher, the transfers would.
Do we have room for it?
Yeah, the classroom is,
I mean, in the building, do we have room for it?
We need that sixth teacher without any transfers.
But we don't have it, we don't have but a couple of extra to justify the 6 teachers. If we took in
Right.
transfers, we would have.
It would fill it.
Yeah,
5
we,
teachers and 125 key, well, 100 and whatever the number is.
Yeah, that's 25 in a class.
He thinks he's
As
gonna
it
get another
is.
10, it's 122.
yeah, we're not gonna take, you're not gonna be able to take transfers hardly in kindergarten much at all, even with that sixth teacher.
I'm saying we don't need more. We got 113, so. He thought we had 105 kids.
Yeah.
We got 113, go ahead, 10.
That would put us at our limit, with just 10.
Yeah, and of course, it's going to depend on the late registration, is what those numbers will depend on. But no, there's not a whole lot of room for more transfers to come in.
Do not put that in the paper. Poor Stacy.
It's just something that popped in my head, I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
No, we get in here, get the phone calls.
So get them now.
Okay, it would be my recommendation to add a kindergarten teaching position at the elementary.
I so move.
And a second, Mr. Franklin. And all in favor, raise their hands. It's unanimous. The board will now recess this open session and convene in a closed meeting to discuss the following items listed on our agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act Government Code. Personnel and the superintendent's evaluation as allowed by 551.074. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of these discussions will take place after the board reconvenes in the open meeting. It is now 7:25, and this open meeting is recessed. We will reconvene this open session. It is 9:05.
Okay, recommendations that I have for hire will be Bo Barrow for high school business teacher, Sydney Duncan, English teacher, Carl Kelker, DAEP teacher at White Oak campus, Rhonda Player for high school algebra, Rex Sharp for high school assistant principal / coach, Barbara Watkins as special ed resource teacher at the elementary, and Nancy White as high school counselor.
I make a motion that we hire who Stacy has recommended. We have a second.
Mr. Franklin. All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Are there any other motions to come before the board?
I'd like to make a motion, Ms. Wright, that we leave Mr. Bryce's salary the same, that we don't give him an additional raise.
And I'd like to make a motion to give Stacy a 1.5% raise.
Okay, we have to deal with this first motion. Mr. Taylor has moved that they're
You're making a
not.
motion to not take action, you don't make a motion to no action.
Just saying. I think the attorney explained that last time.
Yeah, he did.
That's the reason we discussed it.
Mr. Taylor, do you want to keep your motion on the floor?
If there's no need to take action, then no matter.
So, Mr. Franklin, would you restate yours?
I would like to make a motion that we give the superintendent a 1.5% raise.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Raymond? Any discussion on these motions? All in favor of the 1.5% raise, please raise your hand. That is Mr. Franklin, Mr. Raymond, and all opposed, raise your hand. Ms. Pickle, Mr. Taylor, and Ms. Wright. And we have a 3-3 tie. Is there any other discussion before the board?
Stacy, I would just like to say I really appreciate all the hard work that you put in this last year, and I know it's been a tough year, and we really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Can I make a motion to do a 1%?
You can.
Okay, I make a motion to do 1%.
I'll second that.
There is a motion to grant a 1% raise. Is there a discussion of this? All in favor, raise your hand. Mr. Franklin, Mr. Raymond, and Ms. Bates in favor, and all opposed? Ms. Pickle, Mr. Taylor, and Ms. Wright. And again, that's a tie vote. Is there any other comments to be made? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
And a second?
I want to make a motion that we do a 0.5% raise for Mr. Bryce.
I second.
Okay. A motion has been made and seconded for a 1.5% raise for Mr. Bryce. All in favor, raise your right hand. Mr. Franklin, Mr. Raymond, and Ms. Bates, and all opposed. Ms. Pickle, Mr. Taylor, and Ms. Wright. Any other discussion?
I would like to say I'm glad to see that we're finally going to start closing the meetings the right way instead of just dismissing or adjourning without a vote, so I'm happy about that.
When all items have been attended to, we can adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?